Hey, welcome back to the channel. I recently had the ability to take my Apocalypse up to rank 3, and I wanted to wait until book 2 and Act 7 came out before I gave you really my full and final impression and opinion of him. And I have to tell you, this guy is absolutely crushing it. He is so much fun to play, and I can't wait to show you. If you're enjoying the content, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. Keep those notifications on so you catch all the streams, the champion reviews, the war videos, the how to solos, and then of course, those crystal openings. Let's jump into this. Here's something that is part of his kit that I just didn't think was that big of a deal when he first came out and I first got him, but it's his ability to place the weakness. I kind of just saw it as a nice way of maybe giving him some longevity or survivability. Or, you know, of course, a lot of his damage is based on the amount of debuffs he has on the opponent when he throws that special. But now there's a node. Now there's a node where when you have weakness on the opponent, it is increasing your damage. We've seen things like this with Enervate, and I believe it is weakness before. And we've also seen it with the slow debuff, where that does more than just stop, evades, evade and unstoppable. So if this is going to be in here more, this is another piece of utility that this guy has. And here's the thing, and here's why I'm highlighting it, is not only is this in the latest variant, and so therefore it is important. I mean, variants are important pieces of content for us all. But if this is in there, this means it could be in other pieces of content. And also there is so much in this guy's kit that there could definitely be nodes that we have not seen yet that could accentuate him, that he could be the answer for. He's doing some great damage here. I think you'll be a little surprised at how quickly we get this Drax down. There was another piece of his utility with that stun on the first light, but we'll see that again throughout these fights. And that comes from him starting the quest with 4 genetic code. I know that is considered one of the weaknesses of him, and I do think it's there, and I will definitely address those as we go through the video. That ideally you want to start with him ramped up, but I think that's also a positive. You can actually start the quest with this guy ramped up. You don't have to take a fight to do it. You just have to bring along really horrible champions like Magneto, Omega Red, Colossus, Professor X. That's right, mutants. Mutants is how you ramp this guy up. He gets the 4 genetic code. He gets the attack bonuses from having the mutants on the questing team with him. And then the worst mutant you need to bring is either Sinister or Cable. You could bring Kang if you have him for some reason. But here's the thing, Cable with Apocalypse is very, very good, and Horseman Cable is excellent. I did a video when I first got this Apocalypse. The first video I put out was actually on Cable because that's how amazed I was by it. I'll link that in the description. Now, when the next one we're going to take a look at, and then the rest of these are Act 7. So these are big, beefy opponents in the latest in-game content available. This is Power Shield, meaning our basic attacks are going to do no damage, but our special attacks can be increased by 400%. Usually when we see a node like this, we're thinking of champions who do massive, massive specials, right? Like this just seems like a Sunspot node or something like that. Well, you know, Apocalypse, I'm not trying to say that Apocalypse has the ability to do the same damage as Sunspot. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is he does a lot more damage than you realize, and for the amount of utility that is in this guy's kit, it is crazy how much damage his special does. Here's our first special, and look how much life was just drained from that Drax. This, I believe, I should have looked at it earlier. I believe this is a 400,000 health Drax. I'll go ahead and leave a note in the video, and you'll see the little type that'll come across there. But this is massive, massive damage. And we're just going to finish him off in 2 quick specials. So it's 25 hits. And that fight is over. Act 7, Book 2. Done. Moving on to this Ronin. And we're going to show Apocalypse's ability to become bleed immune. This is a just under 400,000 K health Ronin. And we're going to slow it down so you can see just how much damage Apocalypse's SP2 can do when you already have those 2 debuffs applied. Now remember, his special is part of how they are calculated. The damage they do is by the amount of debuffs that he's applied that are on the opponent. So the SP2, after you've already thrown the SP1, will do increased damage if you have those 2 debuffs from the first SP1 on. We'll go through it a little bit more as we go, and it'll make a little bit more sense. Now, the way he goes immune to bleed is he needs to get the bleed debuff on him. So ideally what you want to do, and I'm going to make a little bit of a mistake here. I should have waited there, but I didn't. And now I'm going to get 3 or 4 of these bleed debuffs on me. You really just need 1, and you only need 1 that lasts for 8 seconds. You don't need multiple. You just need the debuff to last for 8 seconds. But now he's immune for the rest of the quest. No matter how many fights I take, for the rest of the quest, he is now immune to bleed. We threw the special one, and that put on the weakness and the poison. You can refresh those debuffs with the heavy. They last a long time. They last about 25 seconds, I believe it is. Without the heavy, and then you can just refresh him. We're going to go and throw this SP2. You see he is at 59% health. This was 400,000 health Ronin. He was at 59% health. We're throwing our SP2. Look, there's a lot of much smaller red numbers that aren't getting your attention, but the 7,574. I've seen that pop up 4 times now, plus those big yellow numbers from the crits. There's that 754 again and again. And off of that one SP2, we've taken this Ronin with 400,000 health, and he's all the way down to 22%. And this is a guy that includes the utility that we're showing here. Remember, he went bleed immune in this fight. It is crazy. It is extremely impressive, and I'm just blown away by this guy. And we're going to show more. 64 hits. 400,000 health, done, and we went bleed immune. This was, I don't believe it's the exactly next fight, it might be a second or 2 fights around, and he's now going to go incinerate immune. I mean, there's just so much in this guy's kit. Now, again, similar to the bleed immunity, or really all of his immunities, you don't need multiple of them. Because of how long they last here, we are going to need multiple because it has to be on for 8 seconds. And Torch's incinerates aren't going to last that long. So we're going to build up. We're going to need to do this twice. Yeah, I think we're going to get 3 or 4 here. I guess just 2. But they don't last the full 8 seconds. So we're going to have to get them again. I believe they'll be coming up any minute now. There we go. And they're going to all get pushed off because we are now completely immune, so I don't take the continued damage from it. Ideally, if it really matters, I think you just want to get 1 on and let it do what it needs to do, and then you go immune so that we don't take the extra damage. But the point is still the same here, showing that he goes immune. Again, Act 7, Book 2, not that many hits, and Torch is down. And then this is the one where I think so much of this is all just going to come together. I did put out a video earlier this week of Apocalypse taking this whole lane. He took this whole lane by himself in Act 7. I wanted to go back in and do it again. I did mess up on that fight. And so I wanted to get the solo and show it to everyone so we could just talk about it once. But this was over 600,000 health. Rolk hitting into the block, or the blocks will add a disorient, which Apocalypse also goes immune to. It's the same as the bleed immunity and the incinerate. He has it on for 8 seconds, and then it's just gone. It's over. He doesn't need to deal with it. The other thing I really want to point out is you'll see that there's a buffet on this node. And remember, this is a 600,000 health roll. So that buffet heal is large. It's a percentage base of his health. We've thrown our SP1, so we now have the weakness. Rolk is poison immune. So that's another thing to be aware of is Apocalypse. Yes, ideally you want to be able to apply all 4 of your debuffs, but as you're going to see in this fight, he has plenty of ammo, plenty of damage, plenty in his kit to get the fight done without being able to apply all 4. So we're going to be able to apply 3. You see the disorient on us, it's going to last for 8 seconds. And we'll become immune to it here. There we are. We are now disorient immune. Do not need to worry about that for the rest of this fight. And if this had been a fight early in the lane, don't need to worry about it for the whole quest. We're going to go in, we're going to throw our special 2. So now we've placed our degeneration and our concussion. The concussion is a 35%. So what we're going to want to do, or what I am going to do, is I'm going to now go all the way to the SP3. When you throw the SP3, any of the debuffs that you have placed get accentuated into 100%, or they are basically doubled, meaning that Rolk will now have a concussion on him at 75%. It's been a bit since I took this fight. I took it yesterday. I actually don't think he's going to heal again from the buffet due to this concussion. He might heal once. He might heal once or twice. But I'm going to talk about the rest of Apocalypse, his pros and cons as the rest of this fight goes on. And we can keep an eye on if that heal happens again. So here we are. We're going to throw the SP3. And that's going to double the potency or increase the potency by 100%. The little Apple keyboard there, huh? And so, as I said, the concussion's now going to be 70%. And now it's just going to be a series of baiting the SP1 and throwing our SP2. And again, I bet you're going to be pretty surprised in how few hits it takes him to take down the 600k Rolk. Keep in mind that when we threw that special 3, Rolk was pretty close to full health. So not only has Apocalypse done the 600,000 in health damage, but he's done significantly more because we threw an SP1 and an SP2 and Rolk just kept healing it back. Now that's part of the fight, but I think it's important to keep in mind how much damage Apocalypse is really doing when you see the total amount of hits in the fight. Now let's talk about his weaknesses, because all I've been doing is talking about how great he is, and he is great. But I think there is a weakness in that he does need to be ramped up or powered up. He needs to be ramped up if you don't bring Cable, Sinister, or King. But here's the thing. Cable really is quite good. I did a video on Cable with Apocalypse when I first got Apocalypse. I wanted to do it on Apocalypse himself, but I was so amazed at how great Cable was that the Cable video actually came out first. I'll link that in the description. Check that out. So it's really not this massive downside of having to take Cable with you. Or you could ramp him up. And no, he's not this. He's not what you're seeing. You do need to take those 3 fights to get him going. Or if you can plan it so he fights a mutant right away, he'll gain those 2 genetic charges at the very beginning and already be at 3. So there's ways around it as well. And he still can do a significant amount unramped. It's not this noodle, okay? He's not a massive damage dealer. As you saw from us slowing it down, and as you're seeing from this fight right here, he can put out a punch. But no, I don't think he's in that top tier of damage dealers in the game. Let's just keep that in mind. I don't really love the way his evade counter works. I think when you have to have a champion evade you 7 or 8 or 9 times, I can't remember exactly what it is. If I have to do that, chances are I'm also having to use a revive or 2. I think it's ideally more something where you're building up to that over the course of the quest, or maybe you're just really playing conservatively. There might be ways where it can work out in your favor. And then the last is that his heavies do take some getting used to. It's not that there's a flaw with his heavies. I think it is more that you're just going to need to kind of get used to it. They are long and they are slow, and there is a window where if you have the spacing incorrect, the defender will be able to punish you mid-heavy. I want to point out that took 189 hits. That was it. There's a lot of hits in those specials, and that Rolk was down. And again, remember that when we threw the SP3, that Rolk was close to 100% health again. So it was way more than 600,000 health. And then just the pros, I want to talk about them. Of course, there's the ability to make a horseman, and then that bleed resistance and the prowess and the unblockable and those things that come with it. But I think I'm going to save those for other videos. I'm going to make a lot of those champions horsemen, go over them, and let's figure out like what can they now do, because this guy is fun. If you get an Apocalypse, you're going to want to make horsemen. Trust me, it's a great time. The pros here are that his kit, there's a ton in it, and it's put together exceptionally well. I hate to pick on Red Guardian, but you know, he's a great example of a champion where there's so much in there, and then there's just this flaw. And it's difficult to get. I think it's the vulnerability to stay on as long as you want. Now, it can be done. But you wish it stayed longer. With Apocalypse, that just doesn't happen. When I'm playing him, I realize that I feel confident because the debuffs stand for 25 seconds. I rarely find myself feeling like I need to rush to try to refresh them. And if I do, when he's ramped up at the 4 genetic code, you just use your first light into the block and the opponent is stunned, and you can refresh them with the heavy. That being added in is extremely helpful, and I think it makes the kit just come together so well. This guy's top shelf. I mean, he just is. If he's not, you're splitting hairs here. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. I hope you either learned something, were entertained, or even better, a little bit of both. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow on Twitter at Vega Gaming 583. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.